Iranian security forces arrested Bitcoin advocate Ziya Sadr, who promoted privacy-focused ways to use Bitcoin for personal transactions amid widespread anti-government protests. A friend of Sadr telling CoinDesk the Iranian blockchain educator was arrested in Tehran on September 19th and has not been released. And joining us now with more is Human Rights Foundation Chief Strategy Officer Alex Gladstein. Alex, great to have you on the show. I saw you tweeting about this case. You're a Bitcoin and human rights advocate, often documenting how Bitcoin helps oppressed people. In Ziya Sadr's case, appears to be no exception.
Yeah, look, this is somebody who helped thousands of other Iranians over the last 5 years access open source currency and find a way out from repression. His writings and his podcasts and his meetups and his conferences helped people understand there was a technology that they could use that was a lifeline that could get them out of the hyperinflating Iranian rial currency and into something that could help connect them with the world. Of course, Ziya and the 80+ million other Iranians, they didn't vote for the Ayatollahs. There's no real democracy in Iran, but they're punished for the crimes of the Ayatollahs. And, that's not just. And he thought that Bitcoin was a form of justice. Now, we don't know why he was arrested. His friends, documented this, that he's been detained for some weeks. It's all speculation at this point, but obviously the country is in the grip of historic protests that were sparked by the brutal case of Mahsa Amini and basically just the ongoing misogyny of the country's rulers. So now there are protests gripping the whole country, and he was certainly caught up in this, and it's just a reality check for Bitcoiners that this technology, we say it's a revolution. Well, a lot of us are cozy at home, but for some people, that has an even deeper context.
Yeah, we see the protests here. 22-year-old Mahsa Amini died in police custody last month for improperly wearing her hijab. Was Sadr involved at all with these protests?
I don't think so. It's hard to say, obviously, but what I do know is that, I spoke to Ziya quite a bit over the years, learned from him quite a bit, and he did say that Bitcoin would become a powerful tool for Iranian women. He was very clear and specific about this. He knew that his society was, extremely biased and structurally, misogynist, and he thought that because Bitcoin could not discriminate on gender, that it would end up being a powerful empowerment tool for half the country.
How can Bitcoin help people during this tumultuous time in Iran?
Well, look, Bitcoin's a tool. It's a money. It doesn't purport to solve, anything beyond that. I think it will have huge impacts on the world. But at the end of the day, politics comes first, especially right now. And right now, there's a desperate and brutal regime that's hanging on in Iran. And, it's not a good thing when you hear about somebody going viral in Iran right now. Like, it's usually means they've been killed by the security forces of the government. I think that over the coming decade, human rights activists and anti-corruption whistleblowers and journalists worldwide will start to incorporate Bitcoin into their daily best practices in terms of using something the government can't spy on. But ultimately, it's not going to necessarily protect you if the government is going to send thugs to your door. You have bigger problems at hand. So I think it more speaks to the fact that the real problem here is dictatorship and tyranny. Bitcoin is one tool to fight that. But I would suggest that people do what they can to support the Iranian movement right now. And, maybe part of that is sending funds inside the country, and maybe Bitcoin can help there.
Right. To your point of the tyranny going on, Amini was beaten into a coma and died 3 days later from her wounds in police custody. Do we know the condition of Ziya Sadr, and is he having any contact with his family or even the Human Rights Foundation for that matter?
No. He deleted, or someone deleted, all of his accounts. His friends and contacts, say that he was arrested in a wave of arrests a few weeks ago that, might be completely unrelated to his Bitcoin advocacy. We'll see. He did say that was not something the regime was particularly worried about. Perhaps he was just caught up in a more broad a broad wave of arrests. But some said that several people who were arrested at the same time as him have already been released. So we'll just have to keep close and monitor the situation. But clearly, Ziya's legacy is something we need to keep alive. What the man accomplished was incredible, and we'll continue regardless of what happens to him.
Sure. And this past summer, Iran registered its first crypto-funded import order of $10 million. In 2019, Iran's government legalized crypto mining. They are trying to create their own CBDC, their digital rial. Are you familiar with what Iran's position is on Bitcoin at this time?
Yeah, and Ziya explained over the years that, especially in 2018-19, the government moved into the exchanges and marketplaces and tried to take control. That these dictatorships, they need to control every aspect of society to stay alive. They certainly need to control the economy. So I think that there may be some areas where some departments of the government can benefit from cryptocurrency. That's possible, especially highly controlled ones like central bank digital currencies. But in general, I mean, they're going to be extremely worried about citizens using Bitcoin in a peer-to-peer way, and they made a lot of effort to stop that. But ultimately, it's hard to stop an idea. So it continues to be an important tool in the hands of activists across the country.
All right. Finally, Alex, what can folks do to help Ziya's cause if they can offer any support at all?
Yeah, that's a tough one. The country is very closed off. I would look towards Iranian civil society leaders that are on social media. They are sometimes explaining like what you can do. I mean, one of the obvious ways is to keep pressure on the Iranian government to raise your voice and to help share the stories of what's happening inside. But to be honest, it's a dark time right now for people like Ziya. There's not a lot of way to get in there and help. So I think the best thing we can do is just keep his legacy going and continue to educate and spread knowledge about technology like Bitcoin that can help people who don't have a government that's going to be out there taking care of them.